What is a thing millennials are killing that deserves to disappear? Cable. It never made sense to me to pay so much for something that only has what you wanna watch on it like 10% of the time. Either it's gotta go, or it's gotta be much more customizable. It made a lot of sense in the 80s and 90s, otherwise it was all local channels. I'll give you one that isn't consumer based, unreasonable, one-sided, and idiotic expectations of loyalty and devotion from at-will employees, particularly those who work for large companies. Employers have shown for decades that loyalty, respect, or even common courtesy towards their employees is basically non-existent and they deserve to be treated the same way. Thinking that you should drive yourself into insane amount of debt by buying a house many times larger than you need for no reason and then filling the extra rooms with piles of garbage. Watch Marie Kondo's show on Netflix. Just huge houses with nothing but junk really makes you want to turn minimalist. The whole concept of climbing the corporate ladder. Boomers. If you don't work hard and keep a good job you'll be living in a van down by the river. Millennials. What sort of van? And which river? The loudness war. I read an article that discussed how streaming companies like Spotify tend to normalize the loudness of music. This seems to have caused a shift in recording studios to record music at lower volumes and have dynamic range again. Sticking around for years, in a job you hate, for a boss who doesn't motivate you, on a path that doesn't feed your soul, because you got hired and feel lucky to have a job. Of course we aren't meant to love every part of our career, every day, but it shouldn't be a miserable experience. The idea that millennials are fickle and focused creatures for changing careers, or focusing on intrinsic motivators can be poisonous. Whether that means working their asses off at a chain restaurant, to make money to go to school or open a business, or if they prance between industries, or if they save up so that they can spend a year doing internships. Millennials are going out of their ways to find careers that make them happy, and there are obviously outliers who won't take any job that doesn't make them rich and happy simultaneously, who stay at home, mooching off their parents. Blah blah blah, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ones who are on a hunt for what makes them happy, and not just settling for what comes along. But first, some reason. Older generations label this hunt as entitled. Traditional 9-5 40-hour work week. Nowadays, you could work from home, choose your hours, and millennials change jobs every couple of years. An ex's grandpa told me about his career. The company he worked for didn't believe in 9-5, more of a 7-5 4 days a week. They figured Mondays are wasted time, and it takes about 2 hours to get into a flow. So instead of 10 wasted hours a week, down to 8 wasted hours a week, and every weekend is a 3-day weekend. He loved it. Unnecessary formality. I'm lucky enough to work in an office that has almost exclusively people in their 20s and 30s and the dress code is nearly non-existent. The company that I work for sees it as pretty unnecessary for employees to come in dressed up just to answer phone calls or emails. Although it is a clothing company and I feel like I'm dressed like a hobo next to some of my co-workers. It's also really progressive and diverse and they do whatever it takes to keep us happy and productive. So I hope more companies follow this route because it's a really pleasant working environment. I work in a similar environment and found it jarring at first. If execs are touring clients around you'd think they'd want us looking pristine, not walking around in graphic tees and slippers. My boss flatly told me that if clients came into a bunch of digital artists in suits they'd be weirded the frick out. Maybe not disappear, but change. Taxi companies. Yeah, want to be void of innovation for 40-50 years? See how Uber makes that work out for you. Innovate and compete already or freaking die in the monopolistic, exploitative hole you dug for yourself. I can't stand them in NYC. They are so rude and prices are sketch as heck. Forget about being on the road with them. They are complete psychos. They have no regard for anyone. I hope the entire industry crumbles, especially with congestion pricing around the corner in NYC. It's about time they are held accountable for all of it. I don't know if it's dying, but I sure hope it does. 8-hour work days for a large majority of jobs are pointless. Button seat pay is stupid. Pay the employee for the expertise, not for sitting in a chair doing nothing all day. It's one thing to slack off at work, It's another thing to literally finish everything and pretend to work just to run out the clock. Localized monopoly of internet service providers. Hate mine BC, they raise their rates every other year and there's no one to switch to. Move to a town where they weren't providing, only for the company to buy out the town. All of them. The whole point of a free market is that failing to provide a worthwhile service results in loss of business. If millennials aren't buying your product service, that is 100% your problem. The true literal meaning of the customer is always right. The things we're killing are crap to begin with, so we aren't using them, buying them. Chain restaurants have overpriced, unhealthy food. Cable is overpriced and you barely use 10% of what you're paying for. Diamonds aren't rare and their value is determined by a company throttling supply and marketing to women. Harley-Davidson makes obnoxious motorcycles and markets them to middle-aged accountants having a midlife crisis and hardcore bikers. And the list goes on. If these industries' companies provided a good product or quality service, they'd be fine. They don't, so they aren't. Change or die. It's not our fault you suck. Slightly related, exactly what is the cutoff year for Gen Y and the start of Gen Z? Whenever people make degrading comments about me, they refer to me as a millennial, which is Gen Y. I would say that I can relate more to Gen Z, however. I've heard the cutoff is 1995-1996, but one source also said 2000. The X-ring industry. The guidelines like get a diamond or X month's salary were invented to move stones and bands. If you have to invent a crappy cultural meme to move your product is by nature not competitive. Started out as a month's salary, then it became 2 months, now it's bumping into 3 months. Like I have 3 months salary just laying around in my bank account, and I'm sure as heck not going into debt for a pebble. Crappy restaurants that microwave frozen food they got from the frozen food aisle and serve it as fresh homemade. Those places can get the frick outta here and nobody would shed a tear. My local restaurant has a particular kind of salad that you can order, which is literally the exact same thing you can buy a packet of in the supermarket, ready to eat. All they do is take 1/4 of a packet, put it on a plate, and serve it to you at a hiked up price. Tastes exactly the same. That the ultimate life goal is to get married, have kids, buy a house and live happily ever after. Absolutely nothing wrong with doing exactly that, but it's not for everyone. I don't live a miserable life because I'm unmarried and childless. I freaking love being unmarried and childless, and the housing market sucks. Companies with crappy management structures who refuse to adapt to a new generation. Circuit City, Blockbuster, Sears, etc. Their poor decisions at the highest levels led to their downfall. The millennials were only there to deliver the final blow. Yeah, now we have Walmart and Amazon. Crap. Everything that is dying is because it's either bulls, or because it can't grow to meet standards and expectations. Take cable for example. The only cable shows I watch are ridiculousness and news. The History Channel is freaking awful other than when Forged in Fire comes on. I don't need any of the 15 sports channels. The Discovery Channel is bleh, and I don't even know what other channels there are. Why the heck would I pay for something I don't like? Another example is diamonds. Why would anyone want a piece of extra shiny glass on their body? They are clear, not rare in the least, and you can bet someone was paid 5 cents to dig up that boring rock. Either change to gemstones that don't look like fancy glass, or lose your entire net worth in 40 years. Multi-generational household here. I literally never watch regular TV anymore. Everything is VOD or live Steam. We have a $120 a month cable bill because my mother wants to watch 3 channels 3 or 4 tears into the cable plan. Wedding traditions. Things like the bouquet toss, having to wear white, marrying in a church, and even having a priest to conduct the ceremony have become increasingly rare. We did most things traditional, but we skipped the garter toss. It is so creepy. Pretty much everything they've been accused of killing, the mine diamond industry, Applebee's, employee loyalty to the company, cable companies, record labels, McMansions, etc. All of that is crap that should go away. The concept of the customer is always right. It's more popular nowadays to tell people that they don't have to bend over backwards to adore and dote on customers who treat them like crap. A comment already mentioned employees being loyal to their company, but I feel like this is its own thing. Plastic straws and one-use only cups. I think the push for reusable or decomposing straws will be really apparent in the next 5 years. I'm a big environmentalist, but I don't really understand the huge push for biodegradable and multi-use straws. Even if you used a straw for every drink you had, the straws would only make up a negligible portion of your overall waste. To me, the ban on plastic straws seems like feel-good environmentalism. The diamond industry. It's a socially and ecologically disastrous, artificially inflated monopoly, selling sparkly rocks that can be produced for cheaper and lower impact in a lab. So tell me, did baby boomers kill off all those awful jello salads that were popular in the 50s? Or did tastes just change and people move on to other and better things more worth spending time and money on? Are millennials killing anything? Or is there simply another cultural shift happening where people are prioritizing their hard-earned money for quality? The kind of service you receive in the mall or large clothing stores where employees are trained to be pushy and ask you if you are doing alright every 5 minutes. I understand it isn't the employee's fault, but I think this type of overly aggressive customer service is really annoying when I'm just trying to get what I came for and leave. I feel like it is tailored to older generations who want someone to help them shop. I also feel sorry for the employee who knows they are bothering you but doesn't want to look bad. The belief that tattoos and dyed hair means you're automatically unqualified for a job or somehow a different person than if you didn't have them. Like, I understand some tattoos are inappropriate and you need to keep your body hair nice, but are the people who doing this the same ones who told us never to judge a book by its cover? Homes with huge lawns, or any lawn for that matter. What is the point? You work all week to pay for the house and have to spend your free time maintaining its curb appeal? Hard pass. Lawns were invented for the wealthy who could afford workers to maintain the lawn for them. Casual racism. Institutional racism sadly isn't going anywhere, but I feel like millennials are either really good at not saying doing things that are bigoted, or just complete 4chan shitbags about it. Car dealerships. More millennials are busing, biking or using car shares. It's less expensive than purchasing new oversized vehicles and is better for the environment. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.